Alright, tonight we're going to be learning about UEFN, which is an Unreal Editor for Fortnite, and we're going to be talking about terrains, and specifically how to set those up, how to design, how to create layers so that you can have different types of terrain textures. And all of these things are built in to UEFN. They come with all of the assets that Fortnite provides. So we're going to start. If you haven't ever done this before, the easiest way to follow along is to, one, you're going to need to have Fortnite installed. And two, you are going to need Fortnite installed, and then you're also going to need to go to the Epic Store and install UEFN, or Unreal Editor for Fortnite. Once that's installed, when you fire it up for the first time, you will see a My Projects, Island Templates, Brand Templates, Feature Examples. You'll just go to the Island Templates, and I start with a blank template when I'm doing a new terrain project, and I will name it what I want to name my project. And this one is going to be Godric's Gauntlet. Hopefully I spell it right. Okay, so I have a team on my creative portal, so I actually make sure that I select my team too, so that anybody on my team can contribute to it as well as playtest it. So I'm going to create this. It does take a second to create a new project. I've used to seeing these 42 load errors every time I load UEFN, so I typically ignore them. But we're going to create a new project because I have another project that I've been using. I call it Sandbox 3. I've been building the mechanics for this map, which I think I've got basically sorted out. So now I just need to build the terrain, and then I will start building the mechanics for the map as well on the terrain. So once that gets loaded up and it initializes the nodes system, hopefully I didn't freeze it up. Don't touch. Alright, it's loaded. I can close this window. And this is what I have. I have a grid. So if you hold on the right mouse button, you can use the WASDs to navigate around like you're flying. You point down, point up with the mouse, and you'll fly around. So I'll go up here a little ways so you can see roughly how big this space is. It's not terribly huge. You can make larger terrains than what are here. There's 4 pieces to this, and I'm going to select all 4 of them, and I will delete. So they're gone. I still have 2 spawners and my island settings here, and island settings has what you would expect, all of the settings for my island, which I will mess with after I build my terrain. So for now I'm going to go into landscape mode. There's a drop down here. Currently it's in selection mode. I'm going to go into landscape mode. And from here we are presented with options for how do we want our landscape to look. Currently it is a 4x4 or 8x8 because it's counting each one of these small green squares as a single unit. So it is 8 units by 8 units square. If you want, so your original size was 4x4 with your grid, so that will expand it out one more solid piece in that corner. So I typically will go with 8x8 or 12x12. So it's also dependent too, because you're gonna get an overall resolution and it can't scale above a certain point. Fortnite has you restricted, and I'm pretty sure, so if we were to do like 20x20, that would be over that amount. But let's see, 20x20 looks rather large, which is kind of what I want for this world because there's going to be a whole lot going on it. A racetrack, multiple fighting areas, cage match area. So we'll create and we'll see if it yells at us. And it doesn't look like it's going to. So we should get a landscape here in just a moment. I think it's like 3,000 by 3000 resolution. You can't go over that. So it is working on generating that for us, as well as layers. And once that's done, we'll be able to do things again. So hands off the controls, don't freeze it. And while you're waiting, fill up your w.gg, use Godric at checkout for 10% off. I am going to real quick actually go refill my W while this creates. I'll be right back. And speaking of W, 5 new flavors showed up at my house today. And I've been trying Beach and Peach. And this stuff is awesome. They also sent me this sweet hat. So, repping the W tonight. WGG, use code Godric at checkout. Let's get back to it. Alright, so we have this terrain. We have this lovely, massive, flat terrain, and it's got grass all over it, but it also has stone. This is a grass-stone layer mix, and I don't quite understand what these red things are yet, or what they signify. I'm still learning. So you're learning with me, but I do know the basics of how to use this. So you've got sculpt mode. Sculpt mode is very, like, it is what it sounds like, right? You're sculpting your landscape. So sculpt actually will raise the height, just set, it will raise the height of your landscape. So if I click in that spot, it's going to raise the height of that spot. Now there are, like, if you notice, it moved a lot of, and if you're flying and you're going too slow, you can roll your mouse wheel forward and backwards to speed up how fast you're moving. And so now we're above our space. Let's get down here a little bit. Okay, so we get a wider overview of what we're working with. If you see that here's our spawner, and now we're going entirely too fast, so we'll slow it down and we'll try and get into, okay, so there is a character model in size, right? So this is a pretty good size hill. If you think about, that's your character. So if we zoom out, you know, we're a very large map. All right, so this is set to a really high brush size. I've got it currently set to 8192 because I was working with a large map the last time I was doing this. So we can set this down to 2000. That's 200, but we can set that to 2000, and it gives us a smaller brush to work with. And what you're trying to achieve is somewhat of a natural look, right? So, but as you get a peak, right, do you want to have a way for people to climb up that? So you're going to have to kind of mellow it out. Well, you can't quite do that all with one tool, so they provide you a ton of other tools, like the smooth tool. So now once I've got this shape, now I can smooth that back down, give myself more of a mountain, and I'm holding down the left click as I'm using the tool. And if the tool is moving too much, too fast, you can adjust the strength in which it's operating the tool. So under tool settings, there's tool strength, and you can actually change that value. So if I set this all the way to 1, it's going to smooth everything out really fast, right? But if I set this all the way down to 0.27, right, it's not going to do it as fast. And I can actually make small clicks, and it won't operate as fast. So I can sculpt, still at 2.7, see how it's coming up a lot slower. So find what works for you in the moment, because you might be wanting to do some really small details and it's moving too much at once. So when I smooth, maybe I bring this down to a 0.12, and I'm really gentle with how I smooth things out. So I still get the paths that I want people to take, but I also get, you know, the shape that I'm still trying. Like, I don't want it to smash down and become flat. I want it to still have topography, so that's a really good way to shape your landscape. So in this world, I am doing 4 different games. I'm going to have a lobby area in which you have access to weapons, masks, kind of some cool cosmetic upgrades, but as well you'll have like the changing booth so you can change your outfit while you're in the game. Pardon. The sorry, tickle in my throat. Oh, hey, thanks, Big Box. Nice to see you here. So in the map that I'm building, I'm going to have the lobby area, which is going to have vending machines where you can get weapons, but those weapons are going to actually be restricted based upon level. And I think there's going to be 3 sections, because I'm going to have, well, there might be 4, but I'm going to have 3 main games, and then your overall levels. So there's going to be 3 sections, and then the one that is affected by your overall level. And I'm thinking across the map I might hide objects that are like not necessarily hidden but locked, that you will unlock as you level. Oh, what's up, brother? Wait, my brother, your brother, my brother Pookie? Anyway, or my brother T. What's going on? So building the lobby and having everything locked behind what I'm essentially calling a play wall, right? So it'll be time-based, level-based unlocking of different items. So now we just need to build the map. And I need to have, because my 4th mechanic, and has been a surprise till now, but it is a capture the area, hold the hill kind of a mechanic, and there will be a stat around that. Oh, what's up, Liam? What's up, buddy? Okay, so what we will do is we will sculpt some three large hills, because I'm gonna feed a racetrack through this as well. So there's gonna be a racetrack that goes through this as well. I can kind of get a little bit more on what I'm doing here by expanding my viewport. All right, so let's bring this down a little bit too. I don't need much. So we're going to erase what we've done, and I can set the brush size way high so that I can just real quick erase everything to being flat. Ooh. Is that Fortnite yelling at me? I think it might be. Okay. It's like, hey, you're not playing yet. So here we are. I need 3 large hills. I'm going to set up a track that runs around them, and I'm going to have a city in one corner where you will have a one-shot game, and I will have another area where there's going to be 8 cage match that you can play with your friends as well. So what I'll do is I'll start here. I'll sculpt. I'm going to keep the brush size where it's at. I'm going to kind of bring it up though to there, and I'm just going to make a big hill. 1. Let's go ahead and come up here a bit so we can see the field. 1, 2, and 3. Now, it's not just going to be 3 massive mountains. I'm going to actually tie them together and make a cool like mountain range out of them, but there's going to be 3 prominent hills that you will conquer. And then in one corner, so this corner here will be a city. And then on this side here, you will have a Coliseum style, like 8 cage matches. But over here, we got mountains, got a big old mountain range in the center, and then we're gonna have a track that kind of weaves in and through, and you'll race around these hills. So let's go ahead and build these up. We'll get more of a mountain-esque feel, and kind of build up this area, maybe build this up a little bit too. And then I do plan on just boxing in the entire space with one giant box. So they shouldn't be able to get out. I might actually just do 4 individual barriers, one on either side. But nobody will be able to get out, so I'm not too worried about making the terrain on the edge of the map, like, mountainous. It's more so I just want to have, and I can actually bring the brush size down at this point. Not that small, something like that. And I can add in some more texture. Maybe bring it up some. It does take a while. But I want to make all these hills accessible by foot. And I'm actually going to also create zip lines, different things that go from different parts to the top of the hills. And then a random number generator is going to determine which hill is the capture zone, and then people will fight for the respective hill at the time that it's the capture zone. So we were talking about, we also want a road that runs through here. So we're going to have a major city in one spot, and then we're going to have a road. And mountain ranges aren't just one giant range in the center line, so we're going to have to kind of blend it into the flat parts as well. So it can take a lot of work and a lot of finessing, but eventually you'll get the shapes and stuff you want. So we'll actually build that up some, build this up some. And it's a lot like painting, honestly. You gotta paint it. So now we've got kind of a way to get up here, and we'll have to smooth it out more, but we do have somewhat of a way of getting up here. And then we'll smooth. So once we smooth, we'll take away a lot of those jagged edges and make it way more playable. Give them places to climb up. You don't want to smooth it out too much and lose your topography, but you also want to make it playable. You don't want it to be too jagged either, so we're going to smooth out this side and kind of bring it back down. And you can kind of come back down to its level and take a look. And we'll smooth that some more. We're going to bring the strength on this up some and really help bring this down to a mountain or a hill that is actually a viable place to capture. So we've got some sort of path. We can actually smooth all of this as well to make it less of a valley in there. And then bring it up and around the hill here. Alright, and then we'll have a cool little area for fighting. People are going to be trying to capture this spot here, but they're going to be kind of bottlenecking on their way up, and they can come up both sides. So there is a way to access it from both sides, so that could make for some interesting conflict. Now we're going to build this up some. I'm going to build it up just a little bit so we can kind of get the same features going on this side. And build this up some. But we're going to have the 3 major hills. Okay, so we've got our 3 major hills kind of planned out. I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more down here. And then maybe add some sort of offshoot where there's a valley, and it kind of creates a barrier between where we would have our city space and then where we would have this more open space where we're going to have our racetrack and everything. And I can always come back in here and create some channels that allow people to like pass through without walking over the hill. Also, we can just smooth this in some spots, so it's just more so hills rather than having these massive cliffs that people cannot get past. Okay, now I want a road, right? I want to be able to put a road through here and make this cool, interesting racetrack. I'm thinking maybe my starting point's right here in this nice valley, but then you race around the mountains and then you stop back at this point, right? And when you get back to this area, the race is over, you get your point, and then over here I'll have my fighting arenas, my box fight arenas. So I want to cut through this terrain, and the best way to do that is you go to manage. You're going to add a layer, an edit layer, and you're going to call it an edit landscape edit layer splines. And then once you have splines, you can place, I'm pretty sure it was control, yep, control, and then click, and it gives you a spline, and then I can click and create another one, and now I want to create this cool track feel, so now it cuts through, it creates this awesome canyon, and then I want it to double back around this way. Uh-oh. Let's go back. Okay, now we're selected on that again. Alright, we're going to create this. We're going to have to mess with the terrain a little bit and smooth it out there, because we want it to be a bit nicer. And maybe this cuts through here and goes by the city. And this is a long track, but maybe it cuts through here, up the hill, down the hill, and then wraps back in to our starting point here. Okay, now we have basically a track. We can select all the spines by clicking the all splines, not spines. We can select all splines and select all the segments, and then what did I do? Oh yes, over here, spline meshes. We're gonna select this, drop down, and we're gonna select from none. We're gonna say straight road. Straight mud track. We could do a mud track. We could do road straight or road straight transition. I'm going to start with road straight, and I'm sure that I could select some splines, but now if you'll notice, I do have a road. And now what I can do is I can grab the individual spots and actually adjust at this spline. I can adjust this, and I can change how it is scaled. So I can actually pull it out just a little bit, and once I see all the grass disappear, stop. Okay, and then there's another spline here, so I can do the same thing with this guy. And let's bring that up a little bit, and this guy here, let's bring that down a little bit, and that will pop all our grass up. And if you're having trouble and it keeps showing back up, the grass texture is just coming through. So what we can do is we can actually go back into paint. We can grab a different texture. So down here we'll have texture layers. So we have layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. We could just lay down layer 2 as a paint. And again, you have a brush size and you have a tool strength. So we can set this a little bit lower so we don't turn everything into dirt, but then layers were reserved for landscape splines. Okay, so it'll just need to be probably smoothed. Let's see, or I'll have to, yeah, it won't let me do it. Well, I'll have to learn more and get back to you, but that is how you lay down a road. How you get it exactly perfect, I will have to include in the next tutorial video on Wednesday. Yeah. So maybe it's because we're on the incorrect layer. If we go back to hey, look at that. If you go back and you select layer 1, then it's not manipulating the other layer. Alright, now what I want to do is I want to paint and dirt. So not going to do much as far as fixing it from a distance, but if I can just take the grass out of it a little bit, make it dirt on either side of the road, kind of blend it in with what's going on anyway, then it just looks like dirt from afar, but as you get down on it, it's going to be a road. Now adjusting it and making sure that all of your splines are correct is also a good thing to do. So I can actually just move this here as well and bring that up and bring this up to help raise it up above. Bring this up. Bring this up. There we go. That one doesn't really need to be adjusted as much. But this would be my racetrack, and so now what I can do is I can set up like my initial, like here, get your car from here, the garages, basically the pits, and then another road that would feed out right onto here, and then it would start the circuit race. Once you get back to this point, there would be one that breaks off that has the finish line that brings everybody back into this little area. This right here will be my little one-shot city, and the racetrack will run right by it. And over here will be my awesome cage match. I'm so excited I figured out a way of doing that. It locks 2 players in together with building materials, and you just build fight until one person survives. You get the point. You level up after a certain number of wins. Hey, looks like it's the creator. It is the creator. Welcome to the stream. I added one additional thing you can buy with my G coins, so go check it out. You can make me hydrate now. Does anybody have any questions so far on anything that they've seen? If there are no questions, you don't have any coins yet. What? Well, that's a bummer. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll actually go kind of see what the size of this map is by launching a session in UEFN and kind of running around it. So I'm going to save. I'm going to check in my changes to the repository, and I'm going to say built terrain. Sorry, built terrain. I'm going to actually call this version 1.0. Because I use 3 octets in case I need to do multiple testing iterations. But built terrain, and added a road, applied general layout of new map idea, and things can shift as we go. Just kind of depends on, hey, does it fit? Do I like the way it looks? I can kind of move things around, reshape the landscape, change the way the road is set up. All of that stuff is adjustable even after you've put it in place. So get a feel for what you want, and then if it's not right, no harm in changing it. You have a repository too, which is awesome with UEFN. You can actually roll back to a previous revision of your project. So that is very, very powerful to have, because if your project breaks, if you get the wrong mechanics, something happens, you can roll it back to an iteration you knew that worked. My number one tip for everyone is to never make changes in the game. So when I click this launch session, it's going to start a UEFN session in Fortnite. Never under any circumstances make changes in the Fortnite client side. Only ever make changes in your UEFN. If you want to do Creative 1.0, just start with Creative 1.0 and build just strictly in Fortnite. Otherwise, you run the risk of creating orphaned data in your project. And I've done that a couple of times before I figured out what I was doing wrong, and that was because I was editing in Fortnite, the game, instead of doing all of my edits in UEFN. So if you're gonna commit to 2.0 building in Creative, you need to just commit to it and learn Unreal and how to navigate. So enough said there. We're gonna toggle over to Fortnite, and we're jumping into the UEFN session now, and we'll get to see, hey, how large is our map, right? So it's gonna go full screen here in just a second. I'm gonna take a drink of Dubby, tell you about the new flavors that I tried today. I tried Galactic Grenade, I'm pretty sure. Galaxy Grenade. That was pretty unique flavor, but it was still good. I didn't like it as much as Grandpa's Denture Water, but it was still a good flavor. The newest flavor I've got right now is Beach and Peach, and it is right there next to Grandpa's Denture Water. So it's probably number 2, but it's right there with it. And I'm really hoping, because they say Grandpa's Denture Water is... Oh, yeah. So I have the Dragonade. I'm excited to try that one. Mod of Michael Jackson in the game doing a moonwalk. Hello, Phenomenal. Welcome to the stream. Queen's been hanging out. Jokes here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. So if you don't have your own code, go get a WGG, code Godric at checkout. All right. So we are spawning in underneath the world because we didn't move our spawners. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. But that looks like a pretty large world. So I'm going to end the game. And I can actually fly around, and I can actually fly around here. I can double space and I can just look around, but I cannot make any edits. So I can jump. Eventually I'll land. Okay. So I mean, it's a pretty good size map. We've got enough area, I feel like, for the cage match areas on this side. And then it's going to be quite a run. So we'll go ahead and fly. And then we've got the car depot area where we're going to be able to get all our cars from. It's going to be in this area. And then this is the racetrack that we'll race around. We'll do a little bit more editing to that. I mean, as we get closer here, that grass disappears, but I don't like the look of that at a distance. And it still has a grass texture there. So we're going to have to come and do a little bit of terrain work to get rid of that grass texture, but that is not a big deal at all. It's just using the paint tool on our first layer to get rid of that texture. We're going to put dirt instead of grass, which we've started to do right over here. So we do have dirt at a distance, which I feel like is a little bit better than the grass, just because, I don't know, I feel like it's better. But yeah, there's still grass texture all over this. You're going to have that too. If you put down a building and it's got, next time they'll have Grandma's Burger Water. Booger water. That's gross. I'm going to do a little bit of shaping on this to make it a little less canyony. That, or if I have these sheer walls, I might add in some zip lines so that people can, but there will be fall damage, so this would be a very big hazard. There might be a zip line across that. So we got hill 1, we can capture this hill. Hill 2, we can capture this hill, and then hill 3, and again it'll be a random number generation that decides which hill is the active hill, and then everybody will have to rush to that next hill. Redeploying gliders, I will also probably figure out how to just add in some teleporters that'll take you up into the air, and then you can redeploy your glider. So those will be strategically placed on each hill so that it makes it a little easier to get to the next hill for some people. And I'm thinking I might make it 50 players big, because I feel like 50 players could comfortably fit on this map and not get overwhelmed. It might even be 99 players or 100. We'll have to figure out once we get to that point. And so I think this is a great stopping point for today on terrain. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to throw them in a comment on the highlights or on the video. And I'm going to be uploading this to YouTube as well. Welcome to the stream, Rooster. Welcome in. But I am going to switch over to a little bit of Fortnite ranked because that's been my jam lately. But before I do that, I want to make sure that my project is solid. So I'm going to back out to my project, make sure all my save changes are saved, and then I can close. So I'm just going to double check by saving everything, making sure I don't have anything to check in on the